It's time for the podcast. Today, we're talking about Outer Banks. I want to kind of go through and fill in some gaps. If you're finding this channel, a lot of people have actually come into the content here from Outer Banks content. I have a good 13 or 14 videos that are very focused on Outer Banks dining and experiences and things like that. So what I wanted to do today, uh, ahead of my 2023 trip to the Outer Banks, is kind of fill in some of the blanks from 2022 and kind of go through what the linear vacation looked like, because this time I did the content a little bit differently. And as I go through these, I'll kind of explain how it relates to content that you may or may not have seen, because some of my more recent Outer Banks videos have been kind of compilation videos like top fives and things like that. So anyway, a trip to the Outer Banks for us from upstate New York, it's a good haul. It's probably a good 11 to 13 hour trek, depending on, from start to finish, depending on bathroom breaks and food breaks and all that stuff. Two adults with one, young child. It is a pretty long, long trip. This year we're doing it a little bit differently, but last year and the year before, it started with waking up at like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning after a couple hours of sleep. Cassie is a trooper. She loves driving, so she'll start the ride, and we'll get down to around the New Jersey area around 4-ish in the morning, gas up, and then head on our way down and kind of just push through. Last year, I threw in something a little bit different. In 2021, I noticed up and down the highway, there were signs for Royal Farm. As soon as you hit Virginia, Royal Farms is like a Wawa or Stewart's if you're from upstate New York, where they advertise their chicken and chicken sandwiches. And as of last year, I was kind of wrapping up that chicken sandwich series. So on our way down, we stopped for half an hour, 40 minutes or so that I could film a chicken sandwich review in the parking lot at Royal Farms, and that's available on the channel to watch. But then when we got down to the Outer Banks to the beach house, we got in, we unpacked. I think by that time it was around like 2 or 3 o'clock p.m. There's really not much, after that long ride, like me personally, I'm not going to want to go out and do anything creative or, even go to the beach at that point. It's kind of too late. And that would be Saturday. The trips to the Outer Banks are usually Saturday to Saturday. So what we decided to do last year was just take a trip to Publix. It's a grocery store down there. Do some shopping for things that we would need throughout the week. What we like to do when we go to the beach is fill a cooler with some sandwiches, and some adult beverages and non-adult beverages. But this time I just said, you know what? Publix, it has good food as far as prepared stuff. I honestly, I'm just going to grab a little bit of grocery store sushi. And that was dinner that day. That and pulling into a brew through and getting a local beer. I think I had gotten a Kitty Hawk IPA, something like that. I still have a can upstairs I have to finish before this trip. But yeah, it was a beer and grocery sushi night, and then, turn in early just because it was a long ride. The next morning is kind of our first, Outer Banks vacation for us is more or less a relaxing vacation as opposed to an events vacation. So we don't really go there to do a whole lot of running around and activities and stuff. We will do some activities, and you'll see as I talk about this stuff, that's kind of what it is. But our trip is for the beach. So in the morning, we wanted to check out this place actually pretty close to our beach house called Barrier Island Bagels. For some reason, we noticed that in the Outer Banks, bagels are actually a pretty big thing. So we went to this Barrier Island Bagels, and it was actually a pretty cool place. There's in my top 5 breakfasts Outer Bank video that I posted late last year. You'll see a little bit more about Barrier Island Bagels. I could do an entire video on it. It's just, at this point, I'm kind of trying to pick and choose projects because I have quite a lot going on between now 3 trips. It'll be 4 after this month of footage that I have. Some of it will never see the light of day, I'm sure. But that's a different story altogether. So this Island Bagels is cool because they're a typical bagel shop. They have tons of different options for bagels that you can get, but they also have a bar where they have cocktails. And I think the bagel service is kind of slow on purpose so that you can take advantage of the cocktails that they sell there, which is interesting. So we had our bagels. We did our beach day. What I like about the beach is that um, because of the situation, we were actually borrowing a house. We don't have to pay to stay down there, which is a benefit because, being that it's a vacation, it gives us some areas to allocate money a little bit differently. And one of those is a beach setup. So what we do is in the morning, there's a service that comes by, sets up chairs and what do you call those things? Umbrellas, right, at a nice spot right in front of the sea. Is it the sea or the ocean? Whatever it is. Um, and it's all set. And then when we're done, we text them and they drive by and pick it up. Don't have to worry about dragging stuff, driving cars and all that. And the really cool thing about the beach house where we stay, it's like 2.5 blocks from the beach. So it's like you get out, you walk. Well, it's a little bit of a walk. It's a harder walk after you've been sitting out in the sun, but especially if you've been day drinking, which I plan to do. But yeah, it's just so nice. And then so day one, which is Sunday, is usually when we go to our favorite place, Awful Arthur's. Awful Arthur's is a place, and now I've done 2 specific videos on Awful Arthur's. There was the 2021 kind of eating outside because we couldn't get a table, and then the 2022 we finally got a table, and now you can kind of see the experience from takeout, which is also amazing, to actually dining in, which is it's an experience because it's a restaurant that's been there since the 80s and maybe even earlier, and it definitely shows, and not in a bad way. It's got that character and charm of like a nice seafood restaurant that you would have found during that like 70s and 80s era. We love it. The food there is amazing. I can't recommend it enough. And there's plenty of glowing things I say about the place on social media or on YouTube. And that's basically it for the first day. I think in most cases, I'm getting up there, so I get a little tired, so I don't really want to spend too much time doing activities. But you'll see the next few days end up getting loaded. And day 2, which would have been Monday, is where we really started getting into the meat of the actual vacation. So we started out with breakfast, which is probably the best breakfast we've had at the Outer Banks, and it's completely in an unassuming spot. It's at a place, and I'm gonna this might change the monetization status of this stream, but I don't care at this point. The name of the restaurant is called Biscuits and Porn. It's a store, it's a convenience store that is kind of upfront with the fact that they sell adult magazines. But they also have biscuits, and they have a whole deli. Their breakfast sandwiches, biscuits, they're all amazing. It is and it's one of those, like, yeah, they have those magazines, but they're like off to the side when you walk in. If you walk straight in and just beeline to the biscuits, you'll never see any of that lewd content. So it's one of those names. It's like, what the hell? I need to go check that out. But we went there, and it was we're gonna probably go again this time. It was that good. After breakfast, and mind you, in between all of this, I'm gathering footage, so it's taking a little bit more time than it would for a typical family. But then we spent a little bit of time at the beach, and on this day we decided to do a little bit of around the beach house between Kill Devil Hills and I don't want to say Duck, but Northern Kitty Hawk. We just did what I'm going to call errands. First thing was we wanted a little bit of a snack, so we went to a place called Scoops Ice Cream. Now, I haven't talked about this place at all on YouTube yet. Maybe there might be a short about it. Maybe not, actually. I don't think I got around to doing that yet. I have a whole list of videos that I wanted to do, and just different projects jumped priority. So haven't gotten to do everything I wanted. So Scoops Ice Cream is a place that it's not like a soft ice cream place. It's in a strip mall next to a pizzeria and next to a place called Try My Nuts, which we actually went to after. So Scoops Ice Cream it's a scoop shop, and they make their own ice cream. It's family run, which I thought was awesome. The service there was amazing. You could tell it's a guy who runs it, and his children are helping him out for the summer. So I think that's awesome. Just coming from my background, yeah, I'll tell my dad I helped him a little bit too much. I think I did get paid, but a lot of my childhood time was spent doing that. Um, but I don't know what these kids' situation is. Maybe they also are spending too much time. I don't know, but it's nice to see. I cherish my time having done that, because it bought me a lot of CDs in college. After that, we headed to Walmart. I always like to check Walmart and Target in new places for action figures, because sometimes you'll find something that you don't get to see at home. In our area, a lot of times the scalpers either work at these places, or they know people who work at these places, and they'll go and they'll get everything. And I'm sure at a vacation spot like Outer Banks, the likelihood of finding something rare is low, but the likelihood of finding something different it's there. So we always like to do that. And then mini golf. Always love the mini golf. That's basically day 2. So you can see just a little bit of fun, just relaxed. We didn't really, yeah. Actually, in between the mini golf, I just decided, you know what? We're on vacation. Let's do something cheesy for dinner. And that cheesy dinner that we did was a place called Fuji Hibachi. This place isn't going to win any culinary innovation awards. It's the same hibachi you probably get at home. The prices are not hiked up for a vacation spot. They have tiki drinks served in the right glassware. Really, really fun place. And, they light the stuff on fire, and it creates nice visuals for the videos and everything. So that was my little fun, cheesy, let's do something like that. Now, as far as good and bad things about the dining in the Outer Banks, a lot of it, you got to wade through a lot of like US Foods and Cisco type places that I would call a lot of the food that you find on the Outer Banks safe food, things that like would appeal to people from 1 to 101. In fact, like in most cases, I'm sure even seafood is not as fresh as you would think, being in a coastal area. Although I was speaking with a coworker today who went down to the Outer Banks recently, and he found a fish purveyor in Kill Devil Hills, right where he stays, that we may check out, we may not. I don't know. I'm not a fan of cooking my own stuff if I'm on vacation, although it could make for a fun video. So that's day 2. Day 3, I don't remember what we did for breakfast this day. Possibly we had leftovers from that biscuits and porn, because we got a lot. We got like $50 worth of stuff, and we were splitting things, and we intended to try as much as we could, and we did. And it's funny, I didn't. So the reason why I did a top 5 breakfast video last year was because I felt like I didn't have enough at any of these places to do a full video. But what I learned this week with the cheesesteak video that I posted is that even a less than 4-minute video, that thing is doing major numbers, which I never expected in a million years. So maybe I might revisit the biscuits and porn for a longer form video. But breakfast is a blank for that day, which is interesting. I usually don't leave blanks. Then we spent the day at the beach for a while. This is why. So I had a light breakfast this day because lunch was a place called Spanky's Burgers. It's a place that from the outside, if you looked at the logo, you would think it's like a total tourist trap. But inside, it's a place that you would easily see on diners, drive-ins, and dives. And I meant to look if they've actually been on there, because it's all like fast food, like junk food stuff. But it's all really well executed. And they do burgers, and there's a burger challenge, which is interesting because it's not like you don't like get a free t-shirt or whatever it is. I don't remember the whole details of it. I could look it up, but it's, I want to get through this, all my notes here. But what they do is all the states, people from all the states that participate, they tally that up for the year, and then they'll give that a winner. Like if like let's say North Carolina has the most people who complete it, then North Carolina is the winner of the challenge. Um, it gives Alaska a pretty bad chance at actually having a champion, but I think it's a 2-pound burger that has a bunch of stuff on it, bacon, cheese, and I think you have like 10 minutes to finish it or something. It's a funny thing, but that's neither here nor there. It's only open for lunch. So we wanted to go. I wanted to load up on stuff there. And I remember getting a burger that was inspired by like a rodeo cheeseburger with a little bit of barbecue sauce, onion rings, some cheese on top of it. And it was very good. I would go back. I think Cassie maybe wasn't as impressed with it as I was, but I love stuff like that, like just junk food, hole in the wall places. And the guy there was really nice and really passionate about what he does. There are a lot of places we want to try though, so I could understand in the next 7 days of going down there, not the next 7 days, in 7 days we'll want to try to do some new stuff. So I get it. Then we spent a little bit of time in Duck. Duck is kind of, I would say, the fancier part of the northern part of the Outer Banks. There's a boardwalk there. There's a coffee shops. There's some, things to do. There's Duck Donuts, places to eat and things like that. On this day in Duck, I think we walked through some toy stores, some merch shops. There was like a dog, a place where you get like treats for dogs and things like that. We didn't do too much there other than a little bit of window shopping and a little bit of real shopping. But afterward, we did eat at a place called the Black Pelican. And there's a full video on this because it was actually an eventful dinner. So like most places in the Outer Banks, there's going to be a wait for most places for dinner. The Black Pelican is one of these really, really big restaurants. It's right on the strip there, whatever the Highway 148 or 84, I forgot what it's called. We'll find out in a few weeks. But the Black Pelican is a place that Guy Fieri has been to, and they have that like pictures of him up and everything. Guy Fieri was here. While we were waiting for a table where we were parked, an EMS truck actually backed up right behind us, and apparently there was some kind of event inside where somebody needed to be taken by an EMS, and it happened while we were waiting for a table. It was kind of scary a little bit, but afterwards, they cleared it out and we got in and had our meal, and it was good. But I would say this is one of the more, I don't want to say trap, but it's one of the more touristy type places in the Outer Banks. Day 4, I think I did a little bit less filming than usual. We had breakfast at a place called Stack'em High, which is like a diner, but the diners down there work differently than the diners up here. And I've noticed this on previous trips to the south or headed south. At Stack'em High, you order everything at like a cafeteria counter, and then you take it and go back to a table, as opposed to weighted service. And then somebody clears the table at the end. I think the expectation is the tipping is the same. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying, in terms of etiquette, it's hard to, if you're not used to that type of service, you won't know what to do. That place was cool. I always joke when we go down south, they have country ham as a side. And I talked about how when we went to Virginia, there was country ham, and then there was what they call city ham, which is the boiled ham. And whenever I tell people that, they think it's not a thing, and then they look it up, and there are other instances of people calling it city ham. And the opposite of country is city, right? Then we actually spent a little bit more time in Duck. I think there was some stuff in stores that we saw the day before that we wanted to pick up, and we ate at a place called the Blue Point, which was one of the places that I think Cassie wanted to go to. This was on the finer side of the dining that I've done on the Outer Banks. Inside, it's like a really fancy restaurant. Like I felt really underdressed, and when I say I was, how I was dressed, I'm probably in a tie-dye shirt, maybe probably a hat, and shorts and the sneakers. So I was definitely underdressed, but they had a back patio that they call, I forgot what they call it. But it's like an area where you can eat outside, and the temperature isn't too bad in the Outer Banks at this time. It's nice and breezy, and we ate outside. We enjoyed a couple of cocktails, um, and the meal was good. It was expensive, but it was good. Food was worth a lot of what they gave us. That was day 4. So that day 4 would put us at Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So now we're up to Thursday, which is day 5, which is when I think we did the most. So we started day 5 with a trip to what I think is one of the better coffee shops in the Outer Banks, Ashley's Espresso Parlor. And I love this place because it's kind of eclectic. When you walk in, they have like different nice wines in refrigeration and also not in refrigeration, craft beers. So and those are all kind of handpicked and curated. They have on the right side when you walk in, kind of a little like coffee bean roastery type thing. And then there's the coffee bar, and they have like local art and stuff like that. So you can tell this is a place that not only is for tourists, but also for the locals, which I love stuff like that too. And the funny thing is, I had done a video about that place the previous year. Wasn't a very well performing video, but after the young lady had helped us and made our coffee, the owner actually had recognized me from the YouTube video, which I thought was awesome. I don't ever like my intent for doing these things is not to go out and be recognized. Like, I mean, yeah, that's great. I love interacting with people. It's more from the perspective of, hey, I'm trying to highlight the good stuff that you guys are doing. So I really appreciated that he recognized me, and I thought that was really cool. He threw in a special piece of toast, no charge for us. They were working with a place called Gutsy Grain, and they were doing like these toasts with different things on top. So he threw in a piece, and we tried that, and it was really good. I appreciate. Yeah, anytime anybody gives us anything free, I always appreciate and throw a little extra in the tip jar and all that too. It's awesome. But funny story about that, when I went to Barrier Island Bagels a few days before, I had ordered a sriracha everything bagel. The girl must not have heard me and just gave me an everything bagel. So when we got back to the house and I got into my sandwich, I'm like, there's no sriracha. Like the sriracha everything bagels were like red or orange. This tastes like a regular bagel. And I looked at the receipt, and she just put everything, not sriracha everything. And I joked because the music in that place was like going to a rave. It was so loud. But when we finally got to day 5, Ashley's Espresso Parlor, they had sriracha everything bagels, and I was finally able to get my sriracha everything bagel fix. I wonder how that's going to work this year now that there's a sriracha shortage. We shall see. We shall see. Gotta hydrate. After that, we just did a little bit we worked our way south. There's a couple of comic shops and video game shops that we wanted to check out. My son is really into Pokemon cards, so we wanted to make sure he got a little bit of a taste of that. We got him some cards, a binder, which was really fun. We got to look at video games, toys. Then we checked out a place called Fishhead's Bar and Grill. It's one of those. It's a bar on a pier, and when we got there, it's one of those places that if you go at the wrong time, a family like with a kid like us, it'll be the wrong place for that type of family, because you can tell that it's a party place, right? There's a pier, there's multiple bars, bartenders, there's drink koozies all up on the ceiling, which is fun. But they have like good food, fried shrimp. I had some fries. They make their fries with like a meat sauce and melted cheese, which is kind of similar to something we do up here in upstate New York. So I had to have some of that. That was in Kill Devil Hills, right? No, it was in Nag's Head. And then we worked our way down into Manteo, and we went to this place called Christmas Tree Store or something. It's some kind of Christmas shop. And the funny thing was, we were pretty far from the beach area where we were staying, but the previous days there was a family that would always be kind of in our vicinity, and they were a pretty unique family. Like the men kind of had, they were built kind of like professional wrestlers or athletes, and the young ladies also kind of had pretty toned, tattooed, so they had this like, they're people that you would remember seeing. And in this Christmas store, we saw them there. It was really like, I never in a million years would have expected to run into anybody in this Christmas store, let alone the people right next to us on the beach. It was amazing. There's some outlets down there. There's a Champion store, which me personally, I didn't get anything. This year that might change because I need some stuff. But we went to Champion, we went to Gap, and mostly for school shopping for our son Noah. He loved picking out a backpack, and that was awesome. On our way back, we had to stop at 7-Eleven, had to have a Slurpee. It's one of those things. I'm in the heat. I love Slurpees. It's so good. We don't have 7-Eleven up here, but a few weeks ago on a live stream, I got from Speedway a zero sugar Slurpee. Might have to go back for that. Then we did our obligatory gift shopping at a place called Super Wings. This is a place that has like printed t-shirts and things that you would get, like, little knickknacks, things that you would bring back to family. My parents love stuff like that, so we had to pick some of that stuff up for them. And this is where we had the most experimental meal of the entire trip. I had to find out if in North Carolina, Outer Banks, vacation area, if the pizza could compare to upstate New York or even New York City or whatever you want to say. So we went to a place called Southern Shores Pizza, right kind of at the interface of Duck and Kitty Hawk. And I was pretty blown away. The pizza wasn't like Brooklyn, like, a place like I wouldn't travel to have this pizza. But if I'm on the Outer Banks, we had to wait over an hour to get our order, which is pretty amazing. There aren't a lot of pizzerias in that area, but there is Papa John's. I think there might be a Domino's. But the pizza was pretty good. I mean, I can't say it was any worse than the pizza here. We're up here in Albany. It's a college town. A lot of pizzas are very run of the mill. This kind of falls in line with most of that. So it met a lot of my expectations. So I can't say anybody who says, "Oh, you need the water," that coming from somebody, I'm an analytical chemist by trade, that is the most bullshit thing somebody can say. The fact that with all the variables that go into making pizza, if you're going to say that the water is the only thing that could be what affects it, no, I don't buy it for a minute. I'll get off my soapbox on that right now. Then day 6 is the day before we head back. We kind of dedicate this more to packing and just getting things in line, just so we can hit the road on Saturday morning. But I always love to start with a coffee. So we went back to Ashley's Espresso Parlor. I love that place. I think we're going to go again this year for sure. We stopped at Barrier Island Bagels again to actually pick up day-old bagels to bring back to our house. Because they reheat really well. Now we have one of those air fry ovens, like not the countertop air fryer that has a stupid basket. I can't dedicate counter space to that. But we have one that's 6 times bigger. That's like a miniature oven, that with a fan in it that they call an air fryer. It's basically a glorified toaster oven. But if you wet the bagels or take them out of the freezer and put them in there, it's just like getting a fresh bagel. For what they charge for day-old bagels, totally worth it. So we wanted to make sure we had some of those that we could bring back and also have for breakfast the morning that we were leaving. That was our last beach day. It had turned out that one of these days, either Thursday, I think it was supposed to rain on Thursday, but it ended up raining on Wednesday. There was something where we didn't go to the beach for a specific reason, and then it ended up, it was supposed to rain on Wednesday. So we decided not to go to the beach. It never rained on Wednesday. And then Thursday, we had already allocated to be our shopping day. And it rained on that day. And then it rained a little bit on day 6, but we still went to the beach that day. And it was actually, I think, a nice beach day, even though it was a kind of a short beach day. And we're getting close to the end of this trip. And then I want to talk about things I want to do for this next trip, through the good and bad of the dining. I didn't want to clickbait, but going through this, it's kind of jogging my memory of all these things. Awful Arthur's has a surf shop, which we were able to stop in. Noah likes to go there because they have little toys and stuff like that. He got a puzzle, which literally on the way home, it exploded all over the car. I think we're still finding pieces from that stupid puzzle. And then we the one stop that I definitely wanted to do is Kill Devil Custard, which I've done a video about and is starting to actually grow in the ranks of my YouTube videos. They're known for their custard, which is not necessarily soft serve. It's a little bit different. It has a special machine, and they make all custard fresh. So they have like a whole doctrine that they live by that's on the wall. And I featured them in a video here. But I got this thing called the Wicked Waffle Sundae, which is like 2 Eggo waffles with custard inside, hot fudge, whipped cream, cherry, nuts. It was amazing. I don't know how I'm gonna follow that one up, but I just love it. I love soft ice cream, like out in the warm heat. That's kind of where I want to have soft ice cream. But that's basically the 2022 trip. For 2023, I think what I want to do is focus less on in-depth individual videos and more of the compilation videos. I want to do follow-ups to the breakfast, lunch, and dinner videos that I did. I did top 5 this time. Next time I might end up doing top 3 or something like that, just because I don't want to stress myself out with doing video stuff, but at the same time, I do want to share some of the experiences, because I think as somebody who doesn't really vacation a lot, I feel like even sharing those things just gets people talking about, even if it's not specifically there. Oh, hey, that looks like this other thing that we get over here, and you kind of get to learn a little bit about stuff like that. I would have never thought that the style of chili fries that I found at Fish Heads Bar and Grill would have been something that they'd be serving down there. So it's one of those things that, like, it just gets a discussion going. Definitely want to do some shopping down there. Definitely want to try some of the smaller type things. I feel like now that I'm a little bit more experienced as a shorts creator, I might do more in the moment YouTube shorts. I tried to do it a little bit last year. I don't really, at the time I wasn't really good at editing on my phone. Now I think I'm a little better. So my plan is to do one kind of short video every day. At least one, but yeah, to do some fun stuff like that. One of the fun things that we do on the ride back, because the Saturday morning we just head back up and we just go straight through. One of the fun things that we do there is, if you're familiar with my shorts here on YouTube, I do 2 every week of what I call silly snack reviews, where it's just basically a 10-11 second video of trying just the weird thing that we find, or something completely normal, and just reacting to it between me and my son. But on the ride back, once we hit New Jersey and we're on the straight turnpike there, I will usually find like maybe a handful, maybe 6 or 7 or 8 things, and I'll record some of those silly snack reviews in the car, and then we'll post those over the next few months as well, just as something to do for the trip there. But as far as the good and bad of dining in the Outer Banks, I know it took me kind of 34 minutes to get to this, but it was nice to recap all that, to just get in my head, what it is. The good is that you really can't go wrong. If you're somebody who is looking to go on adventures for food and stuff, go to San Francisco, go to San Diego, go to Chicago, go to Philadelphia. Don't go to the Outer Banks. It's not, you're going to have to hunt a little bit more for like that more creative type thing. But, and there's a but, it's there. You just have to do a little bit of research and kind of weed through the tourist stuff. It's the same thing in this area here. We have a place called Lake George that it's a destination for a lot of people, including people from New York City. I have cousins from Brooklyn who every year come up to visit Lake George, and they see it as a tourist place, right? And Lake George, it's a different place in June, July, August than it is in January, February, March. Okay. That said, there's a lot of touristy stuff. I mean, most of the places that are seafood places are not getting fresh seafood. I mean, they are. I mean, at this day and age, but it's not like, they're interacting with a fisherman or anything like that. But there are places like the Gaslight and other places that are just like foodie destinations, places where like if you're like deep into the culture of going out to eat and trying something adventurous, you can definitely find something in Lake George. Same thing goes for the Outer Banks. By the same token, that's kind of the bad thing with it as well, is that if you want something creative, you have to do a little bit of work. And if you're going to the beach, you don't want to be on your phone all day kind of Googling things and trying to figure out where the best place to eat is. You just want to go to the beach, relax, you maybe take a nap, take a shower, do all that kind of stuff, and then maybe go somewhere for a few drinks, and not have to do any heavy lifting. So it's the good and bad kind of are the same coin. They're just two sides of it. That said, though, I love vacationing in the Outer Banks because it takes a little bit of that it takes a little bit of that thought process out for me. The hard part that I have in also developing content is kind of trying to figure out how do I find the interesting angle here, instead of just thinking about, all right, I'm gonna get fried shrimp. I mean, in most of these places I wanted to eat fried shrimp and in many of them I did. But with that said, it's I have to think also about, all right, I can't just do 6 days of fried shrimp. I gotta make it a little bit diverse. But that's kind of the long and short of it. That said, though, I did mention earlier that the video that I posted this week of the cheesesteak had done massive numbers. I'm still amazed. I can look at it right now and see that it's still getting a lot of views, and I can't believe it. My videos usually have a couple of days where they'll do pretty well, then it kind of dies down to nothing, and then it kind of either comes back up or comes back up in waves. This here has kind of been riding a wave, so I'm pretty happy with that. And that's not even the big Philadelphia cheesesteak video. That one will be coming this fall. I got to figure out my content strategy here, but to talk about kind of what's coming within the next week, 2 weeks. Next week, we'll be having another podcast. We're going to skip an upload this coming weekend to focus on putting together this podcast. It's going to be the reaction to the One Bite pizza reviews that are going on in my area right now. Specifically, we're going to start with, he did a review of a place called Moretz, which is a Philly cheesesteak place. In this review is in Schenectady. I actually ended up going to the same place to tape the next video, which is coming in a few weeks. Moretz in Schenectady. I went the day after he was there, and there was already an impact from social media. So I want to talk about his rating, what he ordered at Moretz, which was a little bit bizarre. It was a lot bizarre. What he rated Moretz, and then kind of go into a discussion of all the other pizza reviews that he did in the area and if his scores were fair. Last year we did the same thing, and we kind of landed at some of them weren't really fair, especially the DeFazio's one where he got special treatment. But with that said, thank you so much for listening or watching this week. I really appreciate you guys. And if you're watching on the replay, click up on the screen right now. I'll have a link to the podcast, to a couple videos, something that you can watch that I'm sure you'll be entertained. Thank you so much. We will see you in the next one.